name is Dawna, and I'm testifying on They Overcame By. And my testimony, it starts as a young girl just wanting to be connected and accepted. For me growing up, life was life was pretty tough. It had its challenges. I experienced an extensive amount of physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. And those things kind of coupled together and just really affected my mindset and how I viewed relationships, especially with men, with women. I felt that men could only take from me and hurt me. I just associated everything about a man with penetration and hurt. Um, in going through all the things that I went through, to make a very long story short, in going through a lot of the things that I went through, I really wanted, I was hoping for somebody to be there. Any kind of connection. I would take a hug. Tell me you love me, protection. I mean, I was yearning. I didn't have a good relationship with my mother or pretty much anyone. So I just kind of felt so unprotected and uncovered and just unsafe. Every touch that I experienced was perverted. I had really no good touch, no really good experiences. And I would see mothers holding their daughter's hand, and it would affect me so much because I was like, I don't have that. Or I would see girls that had best friends, and I would just wish, like, man, I wish I can have any kind of relationship where I can experience intimacy or closeness that didn't require any kind of sex or hurt. Um, this lacking, this lacking of closeness and intimacy that I needed, especially as a young child, it created this void, a really big void in me. I realized this later. I didn't know then, but it created a void in me that would make me seek out women and talk to them. Sometimes stories would be true, sometimes they would be a lie. It didn't really matter as long as whatever I said could bring them in, to make them feel sorry for me, to feel close to me so I can get whatever it is that I needed. And I went through life a long time looking for, trying to fill this void, and I couldn't get it filled. Now one day, when I went to college, I hooked up, with a good friend. We played basketball together, and we became best friends. And it was a friendship, an experience I had never, ever experienced before. Somebody who wanted to be around me, who didn't want to hurt me, who wanted to hang out with me. Like, I had a real friend, something that I had never had, not in any relationship, no consistency. Everybody who was a part of my life, I had to give something to get what I needed. I had to give my body, I had to give tangible things, but my friend didn't require anything of me. Eventually we became like best friends, and one day we're sitting and we're talking in a car and having a conversation, and then we start to slowly hold hands, and then it moves from holding hands to like kissing. And in my mind, I'm like, whoa. That was the first encounter I've ever had with a woman in a sexual way. And it felt good. I felt like at that time it was a feeling, a need that I had. Like, I became obsessed. I would like always wanted to be around her. It was crazy. We ended up like falling in love with her. We were both in the church. I was active in the church. She was active in the church. We weren't open to the world about it because, we really couldn't come out like that and just make a decision like that without some repercussions, but we were close. We got into a relationship. We stayed in a relationship for about 2 years. That ended, and it ended tough. We went through some things, and every experience I had after that, every encounter I had, that was like a seed just planted for me. I had to figure out what my root causes were, because in every experience I had after that, same thing. I would connect with women. It would start out normal and then turn sexual. And I wouldn't like if a woman just came up to me just straight up and was like, hey, you're gorgeous and I want to do this. No, that was a turnoff to me. For me, I like the idea of it creeping in, so it was just something about that process, and I realized how much, this lack, this void that was in me was causing me to act out in this way. Now, different people, I believe, they say, they go into homosexuality for different reasons. One might say, hey, I was born this way. Some, just for the pleasure of it. For me personally, mine was coupled with a few things. One, due to the lack of intimacy, closeness with a woman in my childhood, in particularly, probably, like my mother or someone that I needed close to me, that lacking, I sought it out in other ways, and it ended up getting perverted. It turned into something else. Also, because of the sexual abuse with, different guys, I associated men with hurt and with pain. So automatically, I was like, I don't know that I can experience safeness, closeness, intimacy, emotional security with a man. I couldn't see it happening. I could talk to women all day long, feel close, laugh, and I was comfortable. But when I tried to do it with a man, I started to recall things that happened. I was afraid. I wasn't myself. So in my eyes, I just figured that I just wasn't created. I wasn't created to be with a man. Too many bad things had happened for me. So it was a lifestyle that, I was comfortable with. I could never be open about it, but I was doing it in my, personal life. And, it took me really coming to God and saying, I got to a point where one experience almost took my life, and I attended a church, and in attending that church, I got into a relationship with a woman at the church. And it's probably one of the most difficult experiences I've ever had. One of the things I've regretted the most, because in me developing a sexual relationship with her, she almost lost her family. There were a lot of consequences, and I tried to take my life. I tried to commit suicide. It was a tough situation, and it was an eye-opener for me, because I saw my pattern. I saw who I was, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was like, I see who I am, God. What am I going to do? How can this void be filled? I'm like a young woman in my early 30s, and I'm wanting somebody to hold me and protect me and tell me it's going to be okay, but I'm too old for that anymore. What am I going to do? My only way to receive that is in a homosexual relationship. So I asked God, I said, God, you created me. I know who I am in you. And you said that all I have to do is ask, and you give it to me. You said that you're close to those crushed in spirit, and I was crushed in my spirit, and so I asked God, show me what's going on. Why am I seeking this out? Can this void even be filled? Am I always going to be thinking about women? It's not that I was attracted to all women. I was attracted to personalities and the closeness, and I'm like, God, how am I supposed to get over that? And once you become intimate with a woman, it's hard to kind of get that out your head. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And you know what? I built up a relationship. I started attending a church. It's called the Faith Center, with Bishop Fernandez. I started attending that church, and I prayed and I asked God to surround me with people that care about me and that can speak into my life and that love me and that can pray with me and that don't want anything from me. They don't want anything from me physically, emotionally. Just they don't want anything at all. I prayed a specific prayer. I didn't even pray and ask him to take away any feelings. I asked him to fill the void. Help me recognize the root. What are the root causes of me wanting to do that? And once I figured out what that was, which I said before what it was, and what was going on, I prayed about it, and God filled my void. And it sounds so cliche. And if somebody had told me, what's going to make you better is God will do it, I would look at them like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You haven't been through this. You don't know what it is to get up and see a beautiful woman in all her goodness and want to be close to her. You don't know what you're talking about. But I was very real with God. And I was like, look, this is what I've done. This is what I'm in. You going to help me or nah? Because right now I'm seeking you out. I don't know what to do. And you said that you can do anything. That means you can fill this void. You can fill whatever's going on in me that's making me want to behave, to want to connect to a woman in a way that I shouldn't want to connect to her. God filled my void. How did he do it? I spend time with him in prayer. I spend time reading the word, and believe it or not, I felt like he was talking to me through. Guys, I can't stress this enough, because when people say those things to me, I'm always like, that's not realistic. But you know what? I connected to him. He filled my void. He filled it through the word, through scripture. He put people in my life to speak life into me. Scripture is not what turned me away from what I was doing. It was love. It was experiencing love. People just loved on me. And that love made me want to find out more about God and God's love for me. And when I realized that this man loves me and the grace that's on my life, I decided, I made a decision, not to engage in that stuff. And you know what? He's filled my void. And, sometimes thoughts will come to my mind. I don't know how real people are. I only can be myself. I'm pretty transparent. Thoughts will come to my mind. And I'm just like, whoa, I have to make a decision. Do I dwell on it, or do I cast that thought out? Because I know it's the enemy. I get up and I put on the whole armor of God when I get up. I need the entire armor, because it's so easy. It's so easy to fall back. It's so easy to fall back into that lifestyle. It was always my cushion. It was my safe place. And so, but now God is my cushion and my safe place. And I realize that when he's my rock, it's not many things that can move me. So I'd like to just encourage anybody who's watching this. I don't know if it's one person, two persons, anybody, for whatever reason it is that you're even in the homosexual lifestyle, or in any lifestyle at all that is maybe unpleasing to God, I would encourage you to just seek him out, for your own conviction. People can't condemn you. No person can put you in heaven or hell. But I tell you this, God is real. He's the realest friend I have. He is real. He is. I don't even know how to talk about him without becoming emotional. I've experienced him for myself. And I know that just because I was in that lifestyle or whatever that surrounds me, it doesn't make me any less of a person. He uses me all the more. Do you know God uses some messed up folk? So I love that. He used some, I was messed up. And you know what? He still uses me. So now I can come out of that and tell somebody else. Like right now, I can use my testimony and share it with somebody else. And then they can share their testimony, and it goes on. And I asked God, why do these things happen? Why do they happen to me? And I realized that everyone has a choice, not just me. Everyone has a choice. And sometimes other people's choices are going to infringe on your life and what you do. It just happens like that. But you know what? God is still good. And I thank him for that experience that I've gone through. And going through this, having been in the homosexual lifestyle, you know what? It makes me more empathetic and able to understand others. And I don't condemn anybody in that lifestyle. I don't feel I have that right. You know, it's between you and God. Work it out with him. I guarantee you connect with him. You won't need anybody else to tell you anything. This guy loves you. He loves you. And in that love experience you have with him, he will reveal to you whatever he needs to reveal to you. So I encourage you today. Hang in there. Keep the faith. I overcame, and so can you.